Hey guys, what's going on? It's your boy Skag here. Just coming at you guys with a video of a trade that I very recently entered. This is a silver intraday market chart. I've been monitoring price action down here because I do believe it was Thursday coming into the end of the week here that silver might see a pop back up into its weekly trend just to close the weekly candle kind of strong. I don't know if we'll precisely revisit the highs of the week, but I do believe that we recover some of the downside action that we've saw from midweek till now. There's a few things happening inside this range that have made me kind of execute on the buy side. We'll have to see if it ultimately works out, so I'll have to come and, update you guys on that specifically. But just to give you guys an idea of some of the things that I used to enter this trade, I wanted to just break down this range. So this range, as there's a few key things. What I have down here is just the volume, and I marked out the beginning effort from the downside, right? The volume associated with the downside move, which is this volume level, and the volume levels between here and here, which is basically this level that we have marked, and as well as the maximum buying effort from the buyers that also drove price up, which established the high and low of the range that we were in. All right, so the red line just indicates where that bearish volume effort is, and the green line just represents where that buying effort volume is, just so you can see it clearly as we assess the range. Now, the first thing that captured my attention, guys, and something that I honestly executed on this morning, but unfortunately had got hit at break even because the market had come back, was over here. And over here, what I saw was, of course, right, the declining the lower highs, right, lower highs into the same support. Price had tried pretty hard to come down and break this. This was also this morning, right around the GDP release, which the United States literally had its worst GDP print ever. With that, we did see some buying action come in, right? And at this point, what I see is an attempt to break the lows on higher bearish volume, right? You see this bearish volume bar here is associated with that attempt down. Now, the volume effort here from the bears was actually higher than it was when they established the range. And although price did breach the low, it didn't really break or hold, and it was actually quickly followed by lots of bullish action. And this actually printed large bullish effort. Now, from this, of course, as I seen this kind of forming, I did take those buys that I mentioned before, but as price moved up to the top of the range here, if we take a look very specifically at, up here and up here, as price continued higher, that bullish demand couldn't really stay in. It's, below the range, beginning of the range efforts, there wasn't really any continued action. So what actually ended up happening was that demand kind of gave out for a little bit, and that drove price back down to these same lows that we've been testing. Now, further tests to these lows, again on this high bearish volume, even higher than the beginning of the range, it still has not broken any sort of structure. Right, we keep testing to these lows here, but I'm not seeing any actual break. Now, the important thing to note too is that kind of coming into this here, we're not really seeing upticks in buyers. So it's a little concerning for me being on the bullish side, but I do like the volume print that we printed over here. It does show that demand came into the market, so I'm taking a chance on assuming the buyers will come back in, especially because, again, I'm seeing that the sellers here, although are putting in consistent effort, have not been able to break this level yet. Now, the possibility does always lie in here that, the bears keep this effort up to the point that they actually do break this support, and then we'll have to see what buyers do with that information. But I believe that the risk to reward for my trade, which I will mark out for you guys here 1 second. Just grab this tool. Right, I'm in here, give or take spread, and I'm just chilling below these lows, keeping my risk pretty short. And I am just targeting upwards of about 24.20, kind of back up into this supply area that we came down from. But yeah, that's pretty much the basics of the idea. we've seen these very specific volume profiles come in during GDP, and then prices just come back down again with the same, kind of rejection from the volume. So I'm gonna keep monitoring this. Like I said, I did already execute on this. I kind of just wanted to make this video as a precursor to what happens. This way, if it fails or succeeds, I can come back and we can explore what happened as this plays out. But yeah, that's the overall idea, and I'll keep you guys updated with this as more market data prints. Hey guys, welcome back. This is the silver update. It is now Friday, about 8 o'clock, 8 a.m. Pretty much just got up, checked the trade. Trade is finally complete. And there's just a few key points I want you guys to take away from this range. Now again, if you didn't watch the other video, it should either be before this one or linked somewhere around this one. But basically, I took buys on silver as price sat down here, and we assessed the volume of the range before it by looking at the sell volume here, which helped form the range in the downturn, and then also the buy volume. That was the first leg up. It established the highs of the range. And we just assessed what price did at the extremes from the low. You can see that, again, that this pushed down very strongly. It had pretty high bearish effort behind it, but it wasn't enough to break structure, which was then immediately followed by a higher attempt in buying, which, although again didn't really send us higher out of the range, showed us significant buying in the market. And then when it came back down, again, it does produce this high bearish volume here with no structural breaks anywhere. So it shows us that sellers are getting just weaker and weaker as the range goes on, and the buyers are becoming more and more interested in actually taking this higher. So I did enter in those buy positions around here. I did run my stop loss here. We didn't really see any drawdown, which is quite amazing. So we probably could have ran a little tighter of a stop, but it is what it is. That's all hindsight. But what I want to bring your guys' attention to is like what happened after I took that entry, because it did just kind of like sit in a little bit of an uptrend, and the volume down here is very low. Now, what you guys need to understand is I took this trade around 10, 11 in the morning, and then as the day went on, volume kind of just faded off into the Asian session, Tokyo session. You're gonna see this, but this is all no man's land, right? We're not at an extreme. We're not at the bottom of the range, not at the top of the range. So I'm not really looking to do much inside of here. So the volume levels don't really interest me. What you want to see when you see volume this low is when the next spike of volume happens, and that actually happened over here. It happened at about 2100, which is about at 10 o'clock ish, 9 o'clock ish. Yeah, one of the two. But it happened, towards the middle of Tokyo session, basically. And we had this high volume signature profile, and again, we didn't break any structure. We couldn't even break the structure here, right? It came down, it tested, of course, it broke this, but this is just a little micro correction in the range. But you could see the bears again, they exhausted themselves here, right? They sold out of their positions. They basically made one final attempt, couldn't break structure, and the buyers came in and took advantage of that. Now, immediately afterwards, you get this push to the high, and there wasn't really much buying activity. And again, this goes into the whole time of day thing. But after seeing a move like this, you can, and I did adjust stop loss on one or two of my positions just under this level here, because if the bears tried to break this and they couldn't bring the structure any lower, it's a good structural point to move stop losses, or at least, go break even, which I want to break even after we form this. Just as more confirmation that, hey, this is a level of interest that the bears could not break. They did try pretty hard. And then you can see after that, it was pretty smooth sailing. We tested the resistance up here multiple times as we were creating higher lows, right? You have this higher low, this higher low, this higher low, and eventually it got to a point where buyers and sellers had to make a choice, and because of the effects of the supply and demand that was in this range, it was easier for the buyers to break through this than it was for the sellers to be enticed into actually bringing it lower. So it did come right up to the take profit. All right, and it's kind of hanging around up here now. I haven't closed anything yet. I'm going to look to do that now that I'm awake. I didn't set a hard take profit because that's just not how I trade. So I'm going to be monitoring this pretty close. Again, this looks very corrective in nature. I do think that it continues even higher. I probably will look to book my worst position, which is actually shortly after this happened, just to take some profits, and then I'll let the rest ride out. Because if this range holds, we find more demand, there's no reason we should cut our winners that early. And again, this thing is very bullish on the daily and weekly, so why get scared out of it for just no reason other than wanting to take profits when we can just see what it does up here, set some stop losses based on what happens. If it does push back up to these highs, I'll set my stop losses right below this range, and if it gives us more, it gives us more. If not, we lose a little bit of profits from booking it up here, which is a fair deal for me. So that's just pretty much the breakdown of this. The trade did work out beautifully. Hopefully you guys learned something from the volume analysis that I did on this trade. And if you guys have any questions, just let me know. Drop them in the comments of the video or DM me on Instagram. It's very simply just @BuyScag. I'll see you guys in the next video.